I'd describe Math 900T as a course that really goes over fundamentals of math and things of that sort. And as the course progresses, it gets harder and harder. You learn different concepts of geometry, Algebra 1, and go through there. I feel it was a great course for starting off, and it gives you a great base for moving forward through your other math courses. So outside of class, I utilize a tutor during the week. That really helped me get down the fundamentals along with the online videos and practice tests that they had online. Through the earlier stages of the course, it's fairly simple, and I utilize my time by getting through that in a more timely manner, so that as I got towards the end, I'd have time to really work on those, because as it gets harder, you really need practice. And so through the beginning stages, I would recommend getting through that a lot faster, because towards the end, it definitely gets harder. One of the challenges I faced was trying to move at too fast of a pace. There would be some days that I'd finish a section and I'd want to just go ahead and get the test done, just to see, whether I could do it. And, those days that I did that, normally I didn't pass. So what I recommend is actually just taking the time to, study for the tests instead of rushing into it. And that'll make everything a lot smoother. And then you're not so stressed out from, not passing the test and then trying to pass it. So I would recommend, on the harder sections towards the end of the course, taking your time and really studying for each test and taking it day by day. I would tell students coming in the spring, one of the main things is try and get someone outside of class to practice with you, to go over the examples. Having someone there to, help you with the repetition really helps a lot with this course and makes it, a lot easier. So yeah, a tutor is definitely something that I would recommend.
Okay, so Math 900T is pretty time consuming, but if you plan it out, work with your schedule, line it up, you can do it. It's not as hard as everybody says it is. As long as you're in the lab and you study, you do your book work if you have to. Just don't procrastinate. Procrastination is the worst thing you could possibly do with this class, because then everything starts to build up and then you sitting there trying to squeeze everything in at once, and it sucks. From personal experience, in the beginning I did procrastinate, but I learned from my mistakes, and working full-time, being a full-time parent and going to school, it's hard finding time to be in the lab and doing your work, but when you actually sit down and plan it out, you can do anything, and I did it. I passed. It took me a while, but I got there, and the final wasn't as hard, and it worked out in the end. Just don't procrastinate. It's the number one thing. Remember, it's time consuming. Schedule it out, break it down one by one, and you can do anything. So the strategy that I used in the second half of the semester was, once I watched the videos, I just went straight to the study plan and did the practice and the quizzes, and it actually worked out, and it saves so much time. But if you need to do the practice quiz and the practice problems, then I advise you to do it. But if you get it once you watch the video, go right to the study plan and then breeze right through it, and you can get to your quiz, and it saves a lot of time and a lot of stress, so you don't have to fall so far behind. Okay. Some of the challenges that I faced, the two worst chapters that you're going to come by is chapter 16. That is the one that my advice to you is just study. Multiple hours on that one. Just study if you can. Try and get a tutor or get in a group with some classmates and just work on that one, because there's no way that you could possibly pass it. the first time, but I mean, once you learn what you do wrong, you can correct it and catch it the second time you do it. And then chapter 18 is another hard one, but it's not as hard as 16. But my advice is just study. Study multiple times. For this one, just do the practice quiz and actually practice questions, and it'll help you out in the long run. Just jumping to the exam thinking you know what you're doing is a horrible mistake. So, chapter 16 and 18, beware. Watch out for those ones. Other than that, I did good. Just those two were the two most challenging chapters that you're going to come across in this class. So my advice for you for this class is any free time you get, use it in the lab. Aim to finish a week earlier than the ending date of the semester. Give yourself time that if you do slip up, you do have time to finish. I honestly, at one point in time, I wanted to drop the class. It was to the point where I did not think that I was going to finish in time to get credit in order to take a different class next semester. But every chance I had with the extended hours on Tuesdays, I was in the lab from the time my class ended until the lab closed. And it worked. It paid off in the end. I finished a couple days before the semester ended, and I was pretty proud of myself that I did not drop the class, because I probably would have regretted it and had to take it again the next semester. So if there's anything that you need to do, is don't procrastinate. Any chance you get, go to the lab and just work. It'll pay off at the end.
I feel like Math 0900T is a very intense course that you have to put a lot of work in. But if you put the work and you put the time into it, you're going to finish, and most likely you're going to finish early. The strategies I used to pass the class were I did every single homework assignment, every single study plan, everything I could do to make sure that I understood what I was doing. I did not rely on my calculator. The reason I didn't rely on my calculator is because I knew if I got stuck during a test and the calculator was not doing what I needed it to do, that I was the one that had to answer that question. So beyond that, I also made sure that I was taking out a good chunk of time every single week. There were some hours where my homework load was 15 hours just in math alone. But at the end of the day, when you go in and take that test and you pass, those 15 hours are worth it. The math class was a challenge. I have not taken math since I was a sophomore in high school, and that was almost 20 years ago. So for those of you that come back after a while being out of high school or even college and you have to take a math class again, it's hard. And you have to make sure that you ask for help. You have to make sure that if you can go to a tutor, you can go. Make sure you make the time for that. I had a lot of tutoring during this class. Fortunately for me, my husband is a math tutor, which is wonderful. But if you don't have that, it's wonderful because CSM has math tutors that will help you through those challenges. There are a lot of things through this math class that are not easy. They are hard to understand. They are hard to get the concept. So take the time to go to a tutor and to understand it, because you're not always going to get it by yourself. Also, the doctor is very awesome at answering questions. The biggest bit of advice I can give you is that if you feel comfortable, especially through the first few chapters, I would make sure, if you can, to try not to use your calculator. That's my biggest thing. If you feel like you're struggling, then of course use the calculator. Another thing I would suggest is making sure that you come to every single class and staying the whole entire time. There were times I would be in class and I would see, I say kids, kids leaving early. I'm talking 30 minutes into class, and I knew for a fact that they weren't where they were supposed to be, And if you're not going to sit in class and take advantage of that full time, then you're not going to finish the class and you're not going to get out of it. You need to put in what you want to get out, and what you want to get out is passing that class.